Those who face eternity easily forget what a lifetime means, what an ending means.
You know it doesn't have to be this way.
No, Kunavang, it does. They need me.
All right, welcome, guys. End of Dragons Daily 71. I've talked about him in the past couple of episodes since 69. Finally, we got Boots here. You're not playing D&D today, eh?
That's right. Yeah, I specifically requested to be on an episode a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
We missed each other, unfortunately.
I kind of made a bit of a mistake there, and we didn't do it in the end. But we've got him today, and here, Boots. Somebody actually says that comment there for you. Give Boots our best. I hope he's having a blast playing D&D. What is? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your campaign? As we start out?
I think that maybe that's another day, another video, another day.
Really? Is that complicated and interesting, is it?
Well, I know that you always like to cut these down to 20 minutes, and I'm going to talk for 4 hours about it.
All right, okay. So we don't really have a big topic today, guys. I really struggled getting comments, especially because, I want to get stuff that Boots can comment on as well. But I've completely dropped the ball on the idea of having individual subjects per day lately. We've just been talking about lore, and there's a lot of really fascinating lore and story discussion, but it's kind of hard to jump in on. So it's a real mixed bag here, and Boots, I'm hoping that you'll have some fun anecdotes and sort of carry where maybe I have a little bit less to say. Okay, so you ready for this? First we got Alonzo, who says, WP, NCSoft just announced that they'll be on this year's E3. Do you think they'll show anything from End of Dragons?
Yes.
So what do you do think that'll happen? I mean, what else does NCSoft have going on in the West, right?
Yeah, of course they're going to show something from End of Dragons.
The thing is, Boots, I don't really know. Is E3? It is just a Western gaming thing, right? Big Eastern properties don't really get shown much. I know that Nintendo tends to have. Does Nintendo even have a presence at E3 at the moment, or do they just do their Nintendo Directs and say screw it? Because
I think, doesn't Sony have a presence though?
Right. Okay. I guess that's true. So I mean, maybe NCSoft is there just to talk about some of their other stuff. Like Blade and Soul, Lineage, stuff like that. There are other
I
big
guess
properties.
so. Yeah, because it's not specifically ArenaNet. I got it. Okay, what exactly is the date of E3 this year?
I don't know what day it is. I know that wasn't it cancelled last year? And
yeah.
Aren't they changing the format this year as well?
Online.
It's changing a little bit. Yeah. Obviously because of COVID and stuff.
Most recent, was 2019, and the next one is 2021, June 12th. So that's actually rather soon.
The timing could be pretty good there. If we're expecting a late summer expansion launch, which I've been thinking, they'll be thereabouts, push it to Q4 maybe at the worst, then yeah, it's kind of there. It's like the classic thing when Guild Wars 2 came out. Gamescom was shortly before the actual release date. PAX, which is obviously on their doorstep, ArenaNet's doorstep. So I don't know. I mean, it would have been nice to hear NCSoft West is announcing something at this year's E3, because that immediately would make it much more likely to me. But just NCSoft in general, I don't know for sure. It would be nice to get news. I mean, we're all desperate for it, right?
Yeah, I feel like, okay, so the last two expansions kind of happened where the Living Story season ended, and then there was some sort of preview of what's happening in the expansion right after the season ended, right?
Kind of, yeah.
And then right after that, they did some sort of official announcement on some kind of expo.
Well, POF didn't really have the expo thing. Path of Fire just jumped straight in. No, POF was they did the Living World End.
PAX. I thought they did something at PAX.
Did they for Path of Fire? I feel like POF. Don't forget, it was only a 2-month break from the end of Season 3 into Path of Fire. And I seem to remember that they did do streams. They did their own marketing stuff for it, but it was a very narrow window, very narrow. Heart of Thorns, on the other hand, was really spread out over a long time. Yeah. And obviously they will have had something going on at conventions at some point there, I think. In any case, I don't know. E3 in particular, let me just say this. E3 has never really had close ties or connections with Guild Wars. They've never really done amazing stuff. What was the expo where they were there? ArenaNet were there, but it was just to show off the giant griffin or whatever it was.
Oh, probably PAX South. I think they brought the griffin also out east.
That wasn't E3 or anything then.
No, I don't think so. Oh, they also brought either a jackal or a griffin, I think, to the UK at some point, or Cologne.
The only E3 memory I have at all was Heart of Thorns E3, when there was like an indie show or whatever where small studios, and I know it's a shame to think of Guild Wars and ArenaNet in this way, I suppose, but small studios were showing their small like gaming properties. It was a show where a dev would come on and would get literally 5 minutes to talk about their thing with the host, and then they'd rotate off, and then another dev would come on, and then they'd rotate off, and it was like a little Q&A. And Colin Johansson went on to talk about Heart of Thorns, and he rapped out so much information and was so enthusiastic and so like quick with it all that the host didn't have a chance to say anything in the interview. Who was that? Was it Day 9 was the host, maybe? And then after that, then he just kind of left, and it was kind of funny. And it was sad to me as well, because it's like they had so much to say about Heart of Thorns, but they didn't have like the exposure or the gravitas to have a bigger platform, so they just had this little brief moment.
So I do think that there will be something said at E3 from NCSoft about Edge of Destiny.
Edge of Destiny, End of Dragons.
It's the same thing to me. But I think that it probably, you're right. It probably won't be a big thing. I don't think it'll be a huge thing like they did for Heart of Thorns. And I think it's partially because of just, the whole COVID situation going on. They're not going to have a huge setup there that they're going to be.
It's going to be a bit weird going into this media cycle as well, because, that story about Colin for a second there. And then before POF, maybe add Mo a bit. There's not really any big name representatives of the game at the moment, that do it. I mean, there's definitely the people that appear on the regular ArenaNet live streams.
Maybe that'll be the big reveal at E3 this year. They're going to tell us who the game director is.
Yeah, they're still being kind of vague about game director, whether they even care about that position and stuff like that. So it's an odd one. There's a lot that we could see. It's not just about E3. I think the whole press cycle for End of Dragons should be interesting. I mean, it's already interesting that they've given us so little since having a trailer a year ago. Maybe that just shows how recently development on that X-Pack started. I really don't have much else to say.
Yeah, I expect something in-game about Edge of Destiny.
Are you really forgetting the name of the X-Pack? Really?
Every time I look at EOD, that's the first thing that comes to my head. And
wow.
Yeah. About End of Dragons, and then
what comes to your head with IBS, the Icebreed Saga? What comes to your head with that? Just out of curiosity.
Irritable bowel syndrome. But I think that we're gonna get something in game probably, in the next couple of months, before E3 for the next expansion, and then I assume they'll use E3 to take that same thing that we learned in game and give it to the general public.
Iron Uvis says, when it comes to the next Champions chapter name, it's called Judgment, obviously, and if you're watching this video the day it comes out, it's in like 2 days that this releases, actually tomorrow. Judgment makes me think that maybe this mysterious mother will have something to do with it. First of all, I think that Judgment is a big part of motherhood in general, and we maybe could have... I know. And we could maybe have Jormag and Primordus being judged or something, but that's not it. I remember 2 things said by ArenaNet. First, that Mother will take a part in future story. I don't actually remember that quote, Boots. So this person's saying that. I don't remember that quote. I don't deny it. It's not in my head. So probably End of Dragons. It should be the end of the Elder Dragons arc. But also, what will happen in the last Champions episode will lead us to End of Dragons. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think this idea makes sense in my opinion. So what's your take on that? Do you think that Mother will be a character already as of the conclusion of the saga, or do you think they'll hold off?
I think that no. I don't think she's going to magically appear in this last episode and lead us to Cantha.
Right. Because of the whole interim content statement?
The interim content statement, yeah, but also it seems like the only time we've ever heard about Mother before is a offhand, well, not offhand, obviously, but a line from Kralkatorrik, and no mention of her other than that in the entire story. Mm-hmm. So it'll be very out of left field if she suddenly shows up now in a climactic battle. Well,
that might be that's the beat, though. That's what's exciting about it.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
Maybe.
A surprise out of nowhere. Well, here's my next question to you. What does judgment mean then? If it's not about our mothers judging us, What does it mean? And by the way, I think that's a fair comment. You know, you got to judge your child to know whether you're raising them right and stuff, I suppose. But what is judgment then? What is judgment?
Huh, that is a good question.
The title of the patch. See, I was saying in the previous part that it might have something to do with Coda and the coding, but that feels almost left field as well. You know.
What was the last episode before Judgment called?
Chapter 3, Balance. And I think Balance was a fair title because it was, you know, both dragons now have their champion, you know, with the creation of Bram becoming the Primordus champion. So Balance worked. The one before that was Power.
Power, yeah.
And then before that, we obviously had Truce, you know, at which point we were still sort of negotiating with Jormag, and Jormag wasn't doing anything. So they've all fit. They've all meant something. So what does Judgment mean?
I mean, it could just mean judgment of who is the winner of this fight, or what.
I've seen a few people with that sentiment. That seems a bit lame, though, doesn't it?
It is a little bit lame, yeah.
I mean, in that way, we judge every moment of every story. You know, it's got to be something more specific than that.
It could be more specific. So, but you're saying the possibility is that all-powerful Mother Dragon comes down and says, "You two have been naughty children."
Well, that's what the commenter says. I don't know whether I buy it, but I mean, it's a good enough theory. At least it's an answer. You know, I'd rather have an answer than none. But I think I'm leaning more to the Coda idea for now.
Okay.
Kathro says, one thing I'm excited for in End of Dragons is what a potential Canthan Guildhall will look like. I did say I was going to be a grab bag of weird topics here. And what new decorations there might be. Where would you most want to have a new Guildhall in End of Dragons be located? You got any thoughts on this, Boots?
Oh, three new Guildhalls.
Oh, you want one for each region? Well, should it be four?
One,
should it be four?
Or what would be the fourth?
A City one, a Xingje one, and then Echovald and Jade Sea, 4.
I was thinking more, like, I didn't think of Xingje as a distinctive Guildhall area.
Well, what? Because it's green and rural, and we've kind of had that before.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in Guild Wars 1, I don't know. I mean, they had the architecture differences. They had water buffalo and rice. What are they?
Yeah,
rice
but that's why
paddies
for a Guildhall, I'm thinking something more majestic. So I'm thinking, obviously a Jade one for the Luxons. A Kurzik one with the forest and petrified stuff, and they have very distinctive architecture there as well. And then a Imperial one.
Well, here's what I think. I think a Xingji one could be like a giant regal mansion out in the countryside. I think that could work really well.
Okay.
As a whole. The Kurziks, you're totally right. I can imagine being inside like a giant cathedral or monastery built into the trees, you know. And by the way, it wouldn't just be an interior, would it? It would be a whole section of a map, you know, similar to how the Lost Precipice isn't just one building, it's a ton of buildings. And massive. But, you know, the emphasis would be on this big central structure. And I can imagine the city as well, some kind of slummy area. The only thing is, the Luxons, they don't really have buildings, so to speak.
No.
They live on turtles that move and... Yeah, it'd be like so that one's tricky. Maybe inside a mine. Maybe like a sort of subterranean guild hall.
It has been 250 years, though, so maybe they've developed something.
Yeah, that's true as well. I think maybe something where we're deep down in, like, the quarries and stuff would be cool.
Out of giant turtle shells.
In all reality, though, Boots, what's the odds that they do this many? I mean, Path of Fire only got one. We could have had a Desolation one. We could have had, you know, all kinds, but we only got one in
Maybe
Vavi.
we'll just get one that's a mix of all the different places.
That would be a bit of a shame to me, I think. What I proposed recently that they should leapfrog. You know, big guild emphasis on one expansion, then ease off on the next, then big guild emphasis again, and then ease off, which would mean that maybe this X-Pack can do more. I do think that the lack of guild features was one of POF's biggest failings.
Right.
So hopefully End of Dragons rectifies that to a certain degree. We get lots of halls, who knows? But certainly it's not hard to find inspiration.
Yeah, I definitely think that this expansion is the most likely to have as much guild stuff as possible in it, with alliances from factions and stuff like that.
As for decorations, I mean, they've been trending to making them bigger and bigger. POF did add a new set of decorations and did, like, simplified the scribing process. I haven't talked about it much on my channel, but they use, like, these matrix items. There's kind of a new way of scribing since POF. Maybe they'll do, like...
I was going to say, technically, we already have Jade decorations too.
Yeah, that's interesting too. In Fractals, you can obviously already get some of those. But yeah, I would expect with decorations they do the kind of Matrix idea. Big decorations of just whatever assets that they create that feel like the new X-Pack. The one thing I would say that I really kind of still want, if you go back and watch my Heart of Thorns review and my desires for new stuff, I would really like a new building, not just a workshop with the scribing station. I would love a farm building where we can get decorations that all themed around living creatures. I'd love to be able to place like rats around, or water buffalo, or moa, that are peaceful, nice creatures that you can have around your guild hall, and you kind of craft and grow them in the farm building.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think that'd be so good. But again, it depends what End of Dragon's scope is and whether they're really looking at this stuff or it's just another crunched expansion.
Yeah.
So who knows? Next we've got GJ It's. Which says Gidgets says a wacky idea to revitalize the interest in skins. We were talking in the previous part, Boots, about how there's so much choice now, it feels a bit lame when a new weapon set comes in.
True.
Especially for people who feel like they're done with the fashion wars. A new item rarity. It would have the same stats as Ascending Legendary. Stats would be changeable for a good amount of resources in the Forge, like Ascended stat changing. The gimmick, free transmutations for that item. Even for people with 1,000+ transmute charges, it would psychologically unlock the idea of no-risk play with fashion setups. The actual base skin wouldn't need to be prestigious. It could even just be starter gear skins.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
I don't think I'd get much value out of it, but
well, no, because everybody's got a ton of transmutations if you're in the game a lot. But
yeah, I'm probably distorted on this one because of all my World versus World and PvP hours that have given me too many. But
yeah, but I mean, I like the idea of it.
To me, there's an implausible side of this, which is hard to comment on because we don't have the company's numbers. But you know that for all these years, they've been selling transmutation shards on the gem store.
Yeah.
And they've never got rid of them. And they sometimes do them as free gifts. And they sometimes go on discounts. To me, that says that that's a big seller in the store. That they've never got rid of it, and they've even done various things to remind people they exist and incentivize them. It's a bit like the level 80 booster. I, as a veteran player, an active player, I would never in a million years buy that. That actually, I think, is the lowest value for money item you can get on the gem store, and yet they sell it. So if ArenaNet is making money off of them, and again, I can't predict this, I can't know. I don't think you'd ever see a system like this come in. And for what it's worth, the thing I suggested in the previous part wouldn't come in because they're making money on transmutation charges.
Yeah, what if it was a gem store only item though?
Well, I mean, again though, that's like one of those entropy things, you add in something to the game that gives you a flash in the pan for money now, but undercuts later profits. So I don't know. I'm not sure they'd do it. I think they'd be careful about gem stores related stuff. All right, next we've got a long one from Gabriel. With a future expansion coming, and also with the old news that Guild Wars 2 will someday go to Steam, I'm very concerned with the impression that new players will have in that future, specifically how the relationship of these players with the open world will be. Don't get me wrong, Guild Wars 2 has one of the best gameplays of today's MMOs, but nothing new for anyone, including most veterans, that the initial moments between level 1 to 50 to 70 are confusing for many. I believe that at the bottom of my heart that ArenaNet should start to invest more of its time and resources for a restructuring of the areas and some systems present in the game today, like the waypoints that lost a lot of credibility with the launch of the mounts, perhaps decreasing the amount of waypoints per map, as we see in more current maps like Bura, where there are only 2 waypoints, and maybe separating them by region to make the Asura gates more useful. Mounts are a lot of fun in this game, and most players feel a certain urge to unlock them. Instead of forcing them to do the first part of Path of Fire, give them a mount for free. Warclaw is an excellent example. Not only all players from the beginning have access to World vs. World, as this quest for the mount will teach this game mode to players, and in the end, it is only to collect some papers scattered around the World vs. World maps for you to unlock it. So it will not be too complicated for players who are not attracted by this game mode. The Renown Hearts are another example. Today, these hearts in Corteria no longer have functionality, make it them restart daily like they did in Season 3 and 4 and POF, so at least players will have some activity to carry out in addition to events on these maps. Corteria masteries, others that need restructuring, for example. Why do we need a mastery that gives me capital speed boost if the waypoint system and mounts already completely invalidate it? I could go on, and I've given many examples. Sorry for the long comment, WP, but I'd love to hear your opinion on the subject and my suggestions. All right, well, I'll throw it over to you, Boots, for now. What's your initial take on that?
He's got some good points in here. I don't know how much of this is actually going to be looked over by ArenaNet anytime soon, because I think they have other priorities.
Isn't that always the thing, though? They've always had other priorities. When will the priority be this? What is the magic thing?
Remember when you thought that they were gonna like completely redo the original storyline, and that never happened? It's not gonna.
Well,
be that.
I didn't think they were gonna do it. I was just writing out what I'd like to see with them doing it. You know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there's a reason why it's not their priority, and I don't think this needs to be the priority. For example, like for the waypoints in levels 1 to 70 maps, if mounts are an issue for that because it negates the need to use those waypoints. It only negates the need to use those waypoints for people who have mounts, and those are people who have already had a level 80 character and gone into Path of Fire. So it's not like they haven't done the 1 to 80 already. You know? So they've already experienced that, so they don't need to experience it again.
Well, when they buy an expansion, ArenaNet throws a level 80 boost at you. They're going to click the boost, they're going to go to POF. They might not have seen those maps.
When you buy a new expansion, you're going to do the new expansion. You're not going to go to POF.
Well, I mean, there's a big question there about what you might be right on that, but on the other world, if End of Dragons comes out or 5 more expansions come out, we're coming up on 2030, and POF is still the only one with mounts and the only one worth doing. You know,
if you're someone who goes into the game after buying POF, for example, let's say the new expansion doesn't come out yet. You buy POF, you get a level 80 boost, you get your mount in POF right away. Are you the kind of person that cares that the waypoints are too close together in your level 1 to 70 maps when you're already level 80 going back to do level 1 to 70 maps?
No, you're right. I'm being devil's advocate to a certain degree here. I think you're right. What basically this person's identified is there is a bit of clunk coming into the game. I especially like their comment there about Capital City move boost from Corteria Masteries. Like, who gives a damn when you have a Raptor, you know? It's not even, or even a Warclaw, you know? That happens to varying degrees with all MMOs, I think, and I hate to see it, and I'd like to have this really cohesive, beautiful product that doesn't undermine itself. But it does, and I think Boots is right on this one, to the commenter. I don't think ArenaNet sees it as a priority. And I don't know, the real question to me is, when will it become a priority, if ever? How long-term are their ambitions with the game? Does it even matter, is another question. Like, my time in Final Fantasy XIV has taught me, and my time in BDO, and many new MMOs that I've either glossed over or actually tried to properly play, is that MMO players are they'll put up with a lot of really rough, rubbish stuff, and it doesn't affect the company's bottom line, and it doesn't seem to affect public consensus about these products, even if it is shoddy work eventually. So, you know, why bother with it, basically, I think, is what the studio's thinking.
Yeah,
and,
when you have a 8, 9, 10-year-old MMO, it's going to get bloated. And the systems that were in place at the beginning of the game, especially when over the course of that 9-year period, those systems have literally changed 2 or 3 times. You're gonna... It's just... Yeah, like, there's going to be things that go by the wayside, and you're not going to... Yeah, there still exists that core mastery that gives you the speed boost and the thing. It's not going to be that useful for anybody anymore, but then again, you don't need to get it.
It is frustrating. I get this commenter, though, because I'm like, God, you can do better. There is a better world. Just because the MMO industry is so low standards now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't strive to do better. And they can put patches in, they can fix this stuff. It's just, you know, it's too utopian of an idea. I don't know. I get really frustrated thinking about this subject. Really frustrated. It just makes me want to make my own MMO where none of these problems would ever happen because I'm a genius that has ultimate foresight and so on. But, you know, to a certain degree, this is the reality we live in. And yeah, it sucks. All right, let's do one more, Boots, since we've managed... well, where did all the time go? Chris Tinson says, what do you think is the potential of the water dragon being the mother of Wait, hold on. I did this yesterday. That was our last comment. I already read that. That was my example to you.
Okay, well then we shouldn't end on such a low note that you just did.
How was that a low note?
At the end of the last comment was like... Well, it really sucks that it exists, but this is the world we live in. Yeah,
well, you know what? I like to sober people up every now and then. They think I've just got this high-pitched, enthusiastic voice, but you know what? There's a grim reality we're living in, everyone, and I want that to sit with you. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for coming
Hold on
a
second, though. I'm going to put it on a high note. The last episode of the Ice Boot Sagan's coming out, and then End of Dragons is coming out.
Well, but how long? You know, I bet it's like a year away. I bet it gets delayed. Arena are always delaying.
Eeyore.
Thanks, guys. I'll get Boots back on as soon as possible, and I hope you're enjoying. Leave your comment. I've got no idea. Boots, give him a topic for tomorrow. Give him a topic. Could be anything. It can even be a repeat topic. I don't mind. Something about End of Dragons.
Give me 1 to 3 features that would be featured in player housing if they do it in End of Dragons.
Right. Okay. So if player housing comes, you want them to list out 3 elements of that feature.
That's right.
Okay. That they want to see or they believe could actually happen.
A little bit of both. Two that they believe could happen, 1 that they want to see. Could be 1.
All right, guys, go and get your pens and papers, get scribbling down, and I'll do a whole episode on that, Boots. Tomorrow will be a whole episode on that.
Wow.
And also, guys, I've been a very bad friend. I didn't really realize this, but Boots did a new video last month. I haven't even seen it yet, but he has got a new video up, and he's on the show. I'll give it a little plug there. So if you want more to watch after this, go over to World of Enders. There'll be a link in the description. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.